Hi, everybody. This is Martha Creek. This is a delight and a pleasure to be with you. These are my mentoring moments with Martha. And I have went out in my world and life that I'm blessed to be a part of and to live, and joined with other friends and colleagues and earth angels, people that are out in the world making a difference in the world, that's being and expressing and doing and acting in ways that they believe and live from, that are integral and that are a definite way to create a world that works for all, and to create a world where we can bring forth our own talents, our own God-given gifts and our expressions. And that is my friend today, Barbara Morgenstern, who is an attorney over in Cincinnati, trained as an attorney, not practicing as an attorney, and former faculty member of Miami University's journalism program and the Cincinnati Post newspaper. So she's been in journalism, writing, reporting, educating, teaching, leading, and our legal and civic systems for many, many years. She's also a world traveler and has been very intentional about that. And she's going to talk today with us about her creative expressions, particularly in writing, around creating memoirs and memoir writing. And she has been doing this herself. Her website is called mymemoirgroup.com, mymemoirgroup.com. So you can check her out there and see people's examples, and also find out how to do your own memoir writing or to host a workshop that she facilitates. She's trained in the facilitation of this memoir writing from the Omega Institute up in Rhinebeck, New York. So we'll launch into here, get started. So kick back and listen to us, and begin to relate, hopefully, to how this speaks to you and what's inside of you that's waiting to be written. So Barb, thank you very much for joining today, for taking the time out to do this. I especially loved the memoir writing I did with you just not too long ago, and how easy it was with one little prompt to really open up the recesses of the mind, of the heart, of the creative juices. Mm-hmm. And I want you to speak about that, honey. Like, how did you get into this? Mm-hmm. What do you think the superpower of memoir writing is, for example?
Fine. And I have on my sunglasses because I'm in back of the Sycamore Township Police Department. I just did my recycling. And just to put a point in time here, we're all sheltering. We're all in the middle of this COVID thing. So I had my first memoir writing workshop online, and it was a pleasure to have Martha as one among the first participants. So we did this Saturday, and today is, what's today? Monday?
Tuesday. Mm-hmm.
Tuesday. So, and you know, I was contemplating, I didn't really know what direction this interview is going to take, but what's popping up now is finding that little germ inside of you that's been there. And I was working on the school newspapers back in junior high, having a ball back in junior high, you know, and it had all sorts of perks where you could, instead of study hall, you could go where the newspaper was and work on the newspaper. We had remember the mimeograph?
Yes.
And that, you know, our teachers used to mimeo stuff, and I remember smelling it, and it smelled so good and all. So we had a mimeograph and the whole bit. So if I have to kind of like trace my interest in writing, it goes back to that. My dad also, who was, you know, very outside the box kind of guy, but very practical, son of a Russian immigrant. Actually, my grandmother was pregnant on the boat coming over with him. He made my brother and I take typing in 9th grade, and it was not a common course to take at all. I'm 67 now. In fact, it was probably like a course that, you know, vocational students would take versus someone who maybe, you know, I love to read, and I don't know, that was, but my dad had to do his own typing when he first opened his law practice after going to law school on Harry Truman's GI Bill. So he did his own typing. And so the combination of being a great typist and working on the newspaper, when I look back circuitously, led me to having my own memoir writing workshop now. So is there any certain question you'd like me to respond to?
Well, I just love that, hearing that, Barb. So it's like I'm getting to know more about you too. So one of the questions I normally ask in these interviews are, what are some defining moments in your life? And you just laid out about 5 of them without me actually asking you the question. And I was also inclined to, I wanted to know how to type. I was 15 years old, not offered in our school, a small school, and I was so called and want to type. So I asked my mother for a typewriter for Christmas. I got one, and I got a teacher that had taught typing previously to high school kids to give me a typing book, and I taught myself how to type.
How funny.
I could type 108 words a minute. And then by the time I got to college, I took a typing class thinking I'd want a formal training about this. And the kids there with me, those young adults in their first years of college, were doing 8 words per minute.
Yes.
And I would not disclose to the teacher how much I could do.
Right.
I didn't want them to feel bad about it. And I also didn't ask to be transferred out of that. So it was a big defining moment for me that I sat there and acted and pretended like I couldn't type. So not to ruffle anything, not to upset anything, just to go on with that class, even though I could already type at a rapid speed, and that I was self-taught too.
Oh, that's so interesting that we're getting to know each other on that level.
Yeah, which is what's one of my other intentions for little chats like this and interviews like this. So tell me, Barb, what do you believe that you're mindful about how you live, you're conscious in the way that you live your life, the choices you make, that we are all contributing to an evolution of the species, of people becoming more and more aware of self and more creative in their self and more calling forth the gifts that we've been given. So what have you seen and witnessed, and what do you believe that memoir writing will contribute to each person? What do you think the contribution is to the individual and to the collective?
Well, what pops up in my mind is that looking back, and I have had 4 long-term careers. They haven't been short. They've been at least 10 to 15 years in duration. And here I am, 67, much to my amazement. And so one thing that I think is really important, and I've experienced this with you quite a bit, is having tools. And going back to typing, typing was a tool that has served me so well my whole life. So I think it's important to drop your ego a little bit and develop the tools that I can never fake anything. Some people, I'm just not a good bullshitter. So I needed, that was something I knew I could do. And I want to tell you just a little story about typing, okay? So I was a newspaper reporter for 15 years, most recently at the Cincinnati Post. And then I went to law school. And my last semester of law school, I took in law school, University of Cincinnati Law School, they call it an externship, which is also an internship, but we call it an externship, where you got to go down to a judge. I worked for a judge, Judge Rubin, a couple days a week in under the supervision of lawyers there, and I got credit for it. Well, and that was my last semester of law school. Don't you know, Judge Rubin comes up to me in the hallway and said, I've got an opening for law clerk. Would you like to be my law clerk? Would you like to have the best job God ever created? It's like, and but how I link this to typing, Martha, is because it's another tool that I want to communicate to the young ones, is that I did all my own typing. And this was 1986 when lawyers and law clerks would write out on yellow pads the decisions and give it to the secretaries, and they would just transcribe it. It would come back to the lawyer or the law clerk, mess it up some more, make corrections. It was kind of a process. Well, I did my own typing. So I believe, because I wasn't on law review, I wasn't at the top of the class. They also knew me from when I was a reporter and covered the courts, and they trusted me. So there's a component of trust. They trusted me very much, because all through the stories I wrote, I would go sometimes in with Judge Rubin just on background, and he would explain to me, because I was a layperson, and I never violated that trust. I just wanted to learn. So I had that going for me too. And he asked me, and it was just the most wonderful year of being a law clerk to a federal judge appointed by life, but in part I do it because I shrank into the, I don't know if you would, I'm thinking of how I think it's a good way to be as an employee, is to shrink into the wallpaper. Don't ask them to notice you, do stuff that they will notice, but not on purpose. Yeah. And so I was such an easy employee because I did my own typing, and I cut out a couple steps, that I think the judge was just inclined to, fill that spot, and he knew and he liked me. So that was it. And so I wanted to communicate that on the employment end, to use your tools, and you just never know when those tools are going to come in handy, and also to be like a modest employee. Another thing, tell me if I'm off base, Martha.
Well, let's just pause here a minute, honey, because you share so much here. It's also wise, Barb. So like people today would not resonate with typing or a typing class, because now kids are typing at 3 years old.
Yes.
Because of the electronics and the pad and all that. The point here is not to take a typing class, but it's to know that the skills you're developing are there for a reason. And whether you know it or not, everything we're learning is for something we're in this life to do. And that it's building us up and preparing us for what's up the road. So not to take that for granted. If you have a real acumen for something, a real incline towards something, that's purposeful, and that you're so wise to speak about keeping things in absolute high priority, like trust, and credibility, and the way you relate to people and to anybody, that particularly me, that makes my heart sing. I want to just bow to that judge, because it sounds like he's wired like I am, that's going to do anything that's going to streamline a process.
Exactly.
Even though the old process called for 4 steps, that I may be the missing link to a process like that, in this case law, in court, and serving a judge, and what that did for you in your life, and that's not something that was out there on your radar, not a goal you was going for.
No.
You had preparedness for it, an openness to it, a receptivity to it, and you held it in high respect and high responsibility as far as what was your role there. So there's so much that's its own lesson here within this lesson, honey, as far as what to think about for some of the young ones coming up. Not to second guess their own gifts and what they have inclined for and propensities for and gifts of, to know that they're to be used on purpose, and that life is orchestrating, which I believe, and I think that you do, that life is orchestrating those for us, that life is giving us those invites and opportunities.
I should take it out of I shouldn't do ageism. It doesn't really, I'm not really just speaking to the youngins either. Right now I'm looking for someone to help me with paperwork and to coordinate some things with my workshop. And I'm looking for those same qualities. So
And you're right, it's not age specific at all. It's just that some of us that are at 60 now, or 60 plus, are going, oh my goodness, like the things that I learned way back there have served me my whole life. I had a round of a degree in accounting that I was actually good at, and had no idea, didn't want to be in an accounting world, didn't want to service account it. I could have done it with my eyes closed and it didn't interest me. And that training in accounting and the way that it has been useful in every single profession, every
Yes.
iteration of my professional and personal life that I've had. So what would you say, Barb, to the self that you are? You've referred to your age here in the interview.
Uh-huh.
Well, if you could tell the younger version of you something, if you could hand back advice to your younger self, what would you tell that younger version of you now that you're up the road some?
I wouldn't change anything professionally. Personally, I wish I had held myself as open to things and intentional as in my personal life as I did my professional life. And some of it was the times, you know, it was the 60s and the 70s, and you know, you weren't supposed to maybe want to have a boyfriend. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but that's the only thing. I think there was some, you know, I don't want to say years lost or whatever, but I think being intentional, and then your whole plan can change. Fine if your plan changes, but some of it is in the numbers. Like my grandmother from Russia, she had an expression: if you roll in gold, you pick up gold. If you roll in shit, you'll pick up shit. Not that I rolled in shit, but just surrounding myself with good stuff professionally reap such rewards. Like, again, I was not on Law Review. I was not on the top of the class. I never felt like I'm the best of anything. It's just that my desire shines through in my honesty and things like that. Now, with your question, I wish I would have been a little bit more intentional on my personal life, but I don't know for sure.
Well, and you know, it's all what we refer to as hindsight. And it's like,
Yes.
I wasn't the same person back there as I am today too. And
Yeah.
we have to take a few trips around the mulberry bush. So speak, Barb, if you would, around what you've seen the benefit of memoir writing be from these people that take your workshop and that have been in this memoir writing arena with you. What do you hear from them about how they benefited from that, what they accessed, or how that's going to help them in their personal and professional lives to do that memoir writing?
Yes. And what has happened is that I did not realize, even though I've been classically trained in writing, in newspaper writing, you know, Hemingway, that's where he got his start, Kansas City Star, and then law. It's both disciplines are very unforgiving. I did not realize the power of the written word and the artistry behind it if people can just be given half a chance. And most of us have not been given half a chance. There's some reason during the educational system where we lose that ability or that confidence.
Yes. Yeah.
So what I learned in very simple techniques, but I draw from a deep well of classical training and writing. I'm not minimizing all the years that I've written that way. It's a great strength. So I am able to facilitate having people in very short spurts. You know, when I say memoir writing, and maybe I'll come up with another word, I haven't thought of one yet, but it's incidents, things that we've thought of maybe even every day. We think about it, like your mother. You know, I was thinking about your mother yesterday in the gladiolas, and I'm sure you think about your mother every day, but just capturing just a vignette about her, and then in every life. And I guess the tried and true the tried and true effect of it, or the result, has been that at almost every workshop I have, people cry. And this is from after writing for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, there's stuff going on there. And I say, you know, the facilitator I had who taught me these techniques, she said, this is not therapy, but it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
I had never got into this because I want to be a coach, or I want to be I'll be a teacher. I love teaching. I love being taught, and I love teaching. But so I didn't go on this for grave psychological reasons. It's really like, I knit, and it's just another way of expressing. And then once I got onto it, I realized like everybody has a story, and the story might seem minuscule, but it's huge. Like,
Yeah.
I got so much out of the stories about your mom. I just, one thing, and I think you wrote it in her obituary, Martha, that I appreciated so much is that it's not that we all have to have great careers, newspaper reporter and lawyer, which I cherish, and I will take the credit for that. But your mom worked in a company, and she was a steward in the union, and how much, it's giving me chills just talking about it, how much that meant to her. You could implicit in that was how much people depended on her, and just that life story. So, I mean, I'd love to hear like a little writing of yours about your mom and union meeting that she would preside over, or something like
that. And that's amazing. That's a great example of it, Barb. Yeah. My mother quit school at 8th grade.
Wow.
She served the union as president of the UAW, the United Auto Workers of America. She had to have a GED.
Yes.
And to stay in the roles and the supervisory roles and that leadership roles that she wanted. And she dug right in there and found a way to do that.
Wow.
So not something she had planned to, but that was her mission, and to serve others and to bring justice and balance and things to situations that could get a little dicey. And that she took it on as something that was one of her superpowers, one of her skills and gifts, as well as feeding people. And taking them food every day, and that too.
So now I see where you got a lot of your strengths, and that movie Norma Ray. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but your mother was really along those lines.
Yeah, that's true, honey. And it's true, honey. It's like it's in our bones and blood. And I think all women that have a pioneer women spirit have got an uncommon grit and an uncommon resilience, and that's not going to sit back and moan and groan and complain about something. They're going to be having their sleeves rolled up, getting in there saying, we're going to make a way here. We're going to find a way here. What else can be done here? So what I witnessed in the writing workshop with you, Barb, that some people, although they're highly intelligent and accomplished and are not confident about the writing. So what would you just say to someone who thinks they can't write, or that writing's not in them? What would you say to them as a facilitator of memoir writing?
Yeah. So I'm going to add a technique for that. I guess it's commonly known as writer's block, right? And I have a technique of just writing a list of ideas you have. I never had writer's block because as a newspaper reporter, you come back from a fire and you sit down and you write about who died or that kind of thing. So the facts, and I think just to get over that is, take a couple breaths, and to write out a list of the ideas that are floating through your mind, and then just put them down. And there's no judgment in that group. There's no judgment. You can't do anything wrong. In fact, let me tell you a little story. I was in Costa Rica at this writing workshop, the first one I went to, and there was a darling, he was about a 30-year-old who had just gotten a golden, what do you call that? Golden parachute from Wall Street. Lost his job, got a golden parachute, but he didn't want a golden parachute. He took it personally, and he was kind of traveling the world trying to find himself. And he said, I can't do this. So he got up when it was his turn to read. And from the class, you don't have to read, but he just got there and he went, blah, 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 blah. And we were mostly women, and we would go, oh, that's beautiful. I can just, the intonations of your voice and the way you said it and everything. And don't you know, by the end of the week, and that was a 5-day seminar, by the end of the week, he was writing the most beautiful stuff. So he just had to realize he was in a safe environment, and he wasn't going to be judged. And I just think it's 100% that if you like writing, I mean, don't do it if you hate writing, but if you like it, it's going to come out. You just write down your ideas and be in a situation where you're not going to be judged, and it's just going to flow, just like we speak, right?
Yeah, that's how it is to me, and that was helpful to me. So it could be to others too, that you realize you're more of a transcriber.
Mm-hmm.
Put your hands on the keyboard and just they'll start moving. So something is coming out and some of the prompts you use and some of your techniques for getting in there. Or if you're writing on a pad, the pen will just start moving. So, and if I don't start stopping it to say, oh, that didn't come out right, or that's not grammatically correct or anything, then there's a flow that's really mind-blowing. So then it's not about being grammatically correct. It's about accessing another part of our mind and another side of the brain in some cases that can tap something that I believe is vital to our life story and vital for it to be told, either through writing or speaking or sharing or something like that. And
it's another good point that we're not doing easy peasy here. You get the gist, you get the of a 15-minute, 20-minute writing, and then you take that thread and you can work on that later. It doesn't mean that's the final project either, but just allow yourself to get that out.
Yes, and that's what it's been for me, because that's how that even if I take something I've been writing on, I do those little newsletters, monthly newsletters, and it's really similar to what you did with us in the workshop, was just to sit down and allow a word to come or a thought to come or a response to something, or my desire to share part of my life or to share an experience. And there's not that much thought in it. And I'm freer and encourage other people to be freer and not trying to write like other people or not trying to be somebody else. But somebody said to me once when I said, why in the world would anybody ever write a book? There's so many books. There's books running off shelves. There's books that people can't even keep up with. Houses are built just to put books in. And the answer was, you're the only one that can say it your way. You're the only one that can say it for you. You're the only person in the world that can say it your way of saying it. And that for me is like some impetus for us all to get to a memoir workshop, or at least to look into that and find some way to write. And I know other people use the artist way and other modalities for writing. So whoever's listening, keep your writing up, whatever it is. And then I encourage you, if you come alive from writing, or you get more passionate or vital and revitalized from doing it, to keep finding creative ways to do it. Like what Barb Morgenstern is offering in these memoir writing. So anything else you want to say, Barb, before we close, honey?
No, it's just been my pleasure to speak with you today, Martha.
Thank you for taking the time to do it, honey. So Barbara L. Morgenstern, attorney and former faculty member of Miami University's journalism program and writers, 4 solid decades of careers and professionalism, all that she's really, really proud of. And I'm proud to know you, Barb, and grateful to know you. So check out her mymemoirgroup.com, the website, and look at hosting a workshop or participating in one. They'll be online now, and all the details will be posted there. I'm marthacreek.com. This has been a segment of Mentoring Moments with Martha. Blessings to you in all ways, and stay tuned for upcoming fun things. And on that website, marthacreek.com, are all sorts of podcasts and videos and other resources. You're welcome to have any of it. The mission that I have is to serve those who serve and to get empowered teachings to the whole of the planet. So we dedicate this time in that means, as a means toward that, to move us in the direction of those goals. Blessings, everybody. Bye for now. Thanks again, Barb.
And thank you for all you do, Martha.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
Bye-bye.